When we're buying a house, when I'm looking at houses, you have 15 to 20 offers on a house, so there's some rejection in that. The process is trusting God through every circumstance. How you doing? I'm Christian Rasmussen with the Exodus Group, where we lead people to God's promised land. I'm coming at you today with Keeping It Simple, where we take complicated financial matters and make them simple. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we got a great video for you today. Hey guys, how's it going? I want to talk to you guys today about rising above circumstances and choosing joy. Right now, in the real estate market, in my world, it's a hot seller's market. The biggest question I get right now is, how do we buy in such a hot market, right? With so many offers coming in. And so I want to explain to you guys a little bit about where the market's really at and what's going on. So the market over the last, this is the last 80 years, has generally gone up. Right? You see that trend. It's why in 1940, you could buy a house for about $20,000. And then today, if you're buying a house around that same price range, right? 80 years later, you're looking at about $200,000. That market has gone up over the last 80, 100 years, right? And so people are like, well, how do I buy when the market right now, we're about right here, right? So the market's going straight up. So many people are wondering, how do I buy in a market like this? And the answer is, right in the Bible. Be joyful always, pray continuously, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. So when we're buying a house, when I'm looking at houses, you have 15 to 20 offers on a house, so there's some rejection in that. And the process is trusting God through every circumstance. And I want to tell you guys a quick story. The farmer had some land, and he had a horse on this land that was fenced in, and one day his horse got out and ran away. And he went in that night for dinner, and his neighbor came by and sat down and said, "Oh no, your horse ran away. What bad fortune you have." And the farmer replied, "Maybe." A few days later, his horse came back and had a whole pack of wild horses with it. And the farmer went out there and riled them all in and put them all in his pen and then closed the pen. And then he went in for supper. And his neighbor came by that night, and he said, "Look at all these free horses you got. What good fortune you have." And the farmer said, "Maybe." A few weeks later, his son was out there and was trying to tame the horses and ride the horses, and he got bucked off and broke his leg, and he would forever limp. And a few days later, his neighbor came over and said, "Oh my gosh, your son has this limp. What bad fortune you have." And the farmer replied, "Maybe." A few weeks later, the army came through, recruiting every healthy young man for the war. And they came to this farmer's house, and they saw his son walking with a limp. And so they passed his son up and went on to the next house. And his neighbor came by and said, "Oh my gosh, the army passed your son. What good fortune you have." And the farmer said, "Maybe." What's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is life happens to us. Things happen. We lose deals, we get deals. You know, some things work out, some things don't work out. The moral of the story is we don't know the end result. We have to trust God through the process. I heard somebody recently say, you can't wait until life is no longer difficult to be happy. You have to choose to be happy now. It's such a good representation of the market right now and trying to buy a house. If you're losing out on houses, if you're getting outbid on houses, you continue to show up. Winston Churchill once said, "Success is going from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm." Right? So we just get back up. It doesn't matter how many times we get knocked down. We just keep on getting back up and keep going after it. I want to tell you one more quick story, and that is about a sandcastle. We've all been to the beach where we've seen little kids building sandcastles on the beach. And I've seen there's two different types of kids, right? There's the kids that are building sandcastles, and then that wave comes in and hits their sandcastle and wipes it out. Some kids will stop and cry and lose out on 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of time at the beach because they're upset about the loss of the sandcastle. There's other kids out there who the wave comes in and knocks it down, and they just pick up their bucket and pail and start building the next one, right? Think about the difference in the experience of the beach from one kid to the next. Recently had a guy lose out on 4 houses, put 4 offers on houses, and on the 5th house he got it. And we closed on that one just recently, and when we were closing, he said, "This is the perfect house for us. This is perfect. I'm so glad none of those other deals went through." That wasn't how he felt on each one of those deals. Each one of those deals was kind of heartbreaking, right? But he bounced back up, got back in the saddle, and kept going. So I want to encourage all of you to do the same. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you the next time.